Alright, the next class is Shaman. We'll start with the legendary weapon. 8 mana, 3 attack, 3 durability, the Rune Spear. After your hero attacks, discover a spell and cast it with random targets. Another meme card from the set. I think it's been universally bashed as terrible, and I agree. I gave it a 0. We haven't had a 0 in a while, but this is a 0-star card. This is like, what were you thinking, Blizzard? This is terrible. It's not good enough. It's way, way too expensive. Let's move on. The next card is a 7-mana Spellstone for Shaman, Lesser Sapphire Spellstone. Summon 1 copy of a friendly minion. Overload 3 mana crystals to upgrade. So let's look at the upgrades. You can summon 2 copies or 3 copies if you manage to upgrade it. It's very expensive, so you have to have a very good target for it. I gave it a 3 because of that, because of the cost. It's very expensive, but very powerful. Currently, there aren't a lot of overload cards in the meta, but you'd have to play more of them to play this card for sure. So I gave it a 3. I don't think it's quite good enough to see play, but it'll see play in some fringe decks for sure. Alright, let's move on to the minion. The legendary minion for Shaman is a 6-mana 7/7. Seems good already. Elemental. Seems pretty good. It's Grumble World Shaker. Battlecry, return your other minions to your hand. They cost 1. I think this card is insane in Elemental Shaman. If you have a Blazecaller on the board, or a Kalimos, or anything else that has great elemental synergy, you probably just win the game off this card. It's well statted. Even if you just play it as a 6-mana 7/7, that's not even bad if you have no other minions. So I think it's very, very good. I'm going to give it a 5. I'm optimistic on it that Elemental Shaman will be a thing with this card. It seems very, very good. There's another Elemental we'll get to later that's also very, very good. Alright. The next card is a 5-mana 5/5. Pretty good stats. Windshear Stormcaller. Battlecry, if you control all 4 basic totems, summon Alakir the Windlord, which is the 8-mana 3/5 Divine Shield Charge Wind Fury. So it's quite a good reward if you can pull it off, but the question is, can you pull it off? And I don't think you can, realistically. I just don't think it's not a realistic card to me, so I gave it a 2. Alright. Next card is a 3-mana spell for Shaman called Healing Rain. Restore 12 health divided randomly among all friendly characters. So it's a little bit like Volcano, but with healing, and it's just your side of the board. It seems pretty good. I don't know if it'll find its place. That's the only issue. Like, do you need this card in Shaman builds right now? Do you need, like, a Circle of Healing kind of effect? I'm not sure you do, because either you're running an aggressive Shaman with little minions, or you're running, like, an Elemental Shaman. And I don't think even an Elemental Shaman really needs this, to be honest. So for that reason, I gave it a 3. It's a good card, but I don't think it's necessary. Alright, next card is another 3-mana spell for Shaman. Primal Talismans. Give your minions Death Rattle, summon a random basic totem. It's not terrible, but again, it's not great. It requires a big board, which is possible in Shaman, but again, having cards with prerequisite effects makes them worse. For that reason, I gave it a 2. I don't think it's quite good enough, and it's not good enough to play Windshear Stormcaller, that's for sure. So, 2. Alright, the next card is a 2-mana spell called Crushing Hand. It's deal 8 damage to a minion, overload 3. So, a hefty overload, essentially 5 mana, deal 8 damage to a minion. I don't think you need this card. I think Shaman has enough removal. I don't know. It seems okay, but not great. It's just one of those cards that's like people don't even play Stormcrack anymore, Like, Stormcrack is pretty similar. I don't know. You can remove a Lich King for 2 mana, but you have to pay 3 mana later. I just don't think it's good enough. I don't think it's necessary. I gave it a 3. I don't think it's going to see play. Alright. The next card is a 2-mana 1/1 Kobold Hermit. Battlecry, choose a basic totem, summon it. So similar to Tuskar Totemic in Wild, it's just not good enough. There's not enough value in a basic totem. You could try to build a totem deck. I don't think Totem Shaman is going to be a thing. Because of that, I gave it a 2. It seems like a worse Tuskar Totemic. Alright. Next card is a 2-mana 1/1 Elemental Murmuring Elemental, Battle Cry. Your next Battle Cry this turn triggers twice. So it's a mini Bran, essentially, for one turn. And it's an Elemental, which is a big, big deal, because you could play this with Blaze Caller or Kalimos. I think this card is in every Elemental Shaman. I think it's insane. I gave it a 5. It's so many applications in Elemental Shaman. Even if you're just discovering off of Servant of Kalimos, you get 2 cards. It's so good. It's a 5. Absolutely a 5. It has great synergy with Grumble as well. It's a 5, no doubt. Alright, the last Shaman card is a 1-mana spell. Unstable Evolution. Transform a friendly minion into one that costs 1 more, so essentially evolve, but it's repeatable this turn. It's a very, very cool effect. The problem with this is this expansion introduced a ton of really high mana cost minions that have terrible stats. So Evolve really got a big nerf kind of without knowing it. So I think this card is still good. I think it will still see play. I gave it a 4 because you can, if you're playing this on a later turn, you can kind of choose when you want to stop once you get a good minion. So I still think it's very good for 1 mana. It can be a definite swing turn. You can just use it on a totem too. So there's like the OTK possibility with this card that people were discussing, that you just keep evolving into charge minions and kill your opponent. That's a pretty fun meme, but it's not realistic. But I still think it's a good card, so 4 stars. Alright, let's review Shaman. The weapon is a joke. The Spellstone is a little expensive, but pretty cool. I think Grumble is fantastic. I think it'll bring Elemental Shaman to the top. Wind Shear is unrealistic. Healing Rain is good, but I'm not sure it has a place. Primal Talismans is kind of a win more card. Crushing Hand is a kind of like Stormcrack, which doesn't really see play. So I'm not convinced it will either. Kobold Hermit, not good enough. Murmuring Elemental, insane. And Unstable Evolution, very good. So I think Grumble, Murmuring, and Unstable are kind of the winners in Shaman. So some pretty cool cards, some pretty cool combos with Grumble for sure. I'm looking forward to playing some Elemental Shaman next expansion. Alright, thanks guys, let's move on to the next class.